The galaxy was vast, filled with countless stars and planets, each home to its own unique civilizations. Among these civilizations, humanity was often considered small and unimportant. For years, humans had been trying to find their place in the universe, but they were seen as weak and outdated by the more advanced alien races. Their technology was primitive compared to the sleek, powerful ships of the Kralgans or the Zorathians. Still, Earth's leaders refused to give up hope. They believed that one day humanity would prove itself worthy of standing alongside the other great powers of the galaxy. Commander Alan Grant stood silently on the bridge of the Solstice, an old warship that had seen better days. Its metal walls were scratched and dented from years of use, and its systems were patched together with spare parts scavenged from other ships. Despite its worn appearance, the Solstice was still operational, thanks to the hard work of its crew. Alan leaned against the railing, staring out at the endless expanse of space. His mind was heavy with thoughts about what lay ahead. Beside him, Lieutenant Clara Hayes adjusted her uniform nervously. She glanced at Alan, her brown eyes full of worry. "Do you think they'll laugh at us?" she asked softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Alan turned to look at her. He saw the anxiety on her face and gave her a reassuring smile. "We've done everything we can," he said. "Whether they laugh or not, we'll show them what we're made of." Clara nodded, though she didn't seem entirely convinced. She knew how much was riding on this mission. If it failed, humanity would remain vulnerable to exploitation by stronger species. But if it succeeded, well, that was a future too big to imagine. The Solstice was part of a larger fleet, a collection of ships that looked more like museum pieces than modern spacecraft. There were rusted hulls, faded paint jobs, and engines that groaned under the strain of long journeys. To anyone else, these ships might have seemed like relics of a bygone era, but to the humans who served aboard them, they were symbols of resilience and determination. Each ship carried the hopes and dreams of billions of people back on Earth. As the fleet approached Nexus Prime, the massive space station where the intergalactic summit was being held, tension filled the air. Thousands of alien dignitaries had gathered for the event, representing hundreds of different species. They came from all corners of the galaxy, some traveling light years just to attend. The summit was an opportunity for leaders to discuss trade agreements, diplomatic relations, and matters of galactic security. It was also a chance for lesser-known species to make their voices heard. For years, Earth's representatives had struggled to gain attention at these summits. Their speeches were often ignored, and their proposals dismissed without consideration. This year, however, things were different. Ambassador Samuel Brooks, a tall man with graying hair and a stern expression, had promised something extraordinary. In his announcement, he declared, "Today we will show you why humanity deserves its place among the stars." His words sparked curiosity but also skepticism. Many doubted that humans could offer anything impressive. After all, their reputation preceded them. Stories of their outdated technology and lackluster military presence had spread far and wide. Even now, as the fleet docked at Nexus Prime, whispers of mockery echoed through the corridors of the station. "Look at those ships," sneered a Kralgan delegate, pointing at the monitors displaying live footage of the human fleet. "They're practically falling apart. They probably haven't even upgraded since their last summit," added another, laughing loudly. Despite the ridicule, Alan and his crew remained focused. They knew the truth. Appearances could be deceiving. Beneath the surface of those battered ships lay secrets that no one in the galaxy could have anticipated, secrets that had taken decades of research, sacrifice, and ingenuity to uncover. Back on Earth, scientists had been working tirelessly to unlock the mysteries of ancient artifacts discovered during early explorations of Mars. Buried beneath layers of red dust, they found remnants of a civilization far older than humanity. These artifacts contained knowledge beyond anything humans had ever encountered. While other species chased flashy advancements, humanity chose a different path. They studied the past, learning from those who had come before them. Dr. Emily Ross, a brilliant scientist with a passion for discovery, led much of this effort. Her team spent years deciphering the alien language, etched into the artifacts and reverse engineering the technology hidden within. It was slow, painstaking work, but eventually they succeeded. What they uncovered changed everything. Now, as the summit began, Alan couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and apprehension. He trusted Ambassador Brooks, but he also knew how high the stakes were. If the demonstration failed, humanity would be laughed out of the galaxy. But if it succeeded, the lights dimmed inside the Grand Assembly Hall of Nexus Prime. A holographic screen flickered to life, projecting images of Earth's fleet. Rusty hulls, faded paint, and patchwork repairs dominated the display. Laughter rippled through the crowd. One Kralgon delegate smirked, shaking his head. These relics? This is their idea of power? But then, Ambassador Brooks stepped forward. His voice was calm yet commanding as he addressed the gathered delegates. You see before you not just our ships, but the resilience of a species that has survived against all odds. These vessels may look ancient, but they carry within them secrets older than your empires. With those words, the atmosphere shifted. Curiosity replaced mockery, and anticipation hung thick in the air. Outside the station, the human fleet began moving into position. Energy shields shimmered around each ship, glowing brighter than anything the audience had ever seen. Gasps echoed across the room as sensors confirmed the impossible. These shields were impenetrable, even to the most advanced weaponry in the galaxy. Clara watched the readings closely, her heart racing. She whispered to Alan, "This could change everything." Alan nodded, his eyes fixed on the screen. For the first time in history, humanity had captured the attention of the galaxy. And this was only the beginning. The Grand Assembly Hall of Nexus Prime was silent for a moment, the kind of silence that comes when everyone is too stunned to speak. The holographic screen still displayed the human fleet, its ships surrounded by shimmering energy shields that glowed with an otherworldly light. No one had expected this, not from humanity. The delegates exchanged glances, their expressions ranging from disbelief to awe. Some leaned forward in their seats, their curiosity piqued. Others whispered urgently to their neighbors, trying to make sense of what they were seeing. Ambassador Samuel Brooks stood at the center of the stage, his posture calm and confident. He let the moment stretch, allowing the weight of the revelation to sink in. Then with measured steps he moved closer to the edge of the platform, his gaze sweeping across the audience. "What you see here," he began, his voice steady and clear, "is not just technology. It is proof of humanity's determination to adapt, to survive, and to thrive." His words hung in the air, resonating deeply with some while others remained skeptical. A Zarathian delegate raised a hand, his sharp features betraying impatience. "Explain," he demanded, his tone clipped. "How did your species achieve something we have not?" Brooks nodded, as if expecting the question. "It is not ours alone," he admitted. "This technology is based on discoveries made during our exploration of Mars. There, buried beneath layers of dust, we found remnants of an ancient civilization. Their knowledge was advanced beyond anything we had ever encountered. But it was not enough to simply uncover it. We had to understand it, to adapt it to our needs." At this point, Dr. Emily Ross appeared on the screen behind Brooks. Her image was projected larger than life, her intelligent eyes scanning the room, as if she could see every delegate individually. She wore a simple white lab coat, her dark hair tied back in a practical ponytail. Despite the formality of the occasion, there was warmth in her smile, a quiet confidence that put people at ease. "For decades," Emily began, "we studied these artifacts. They contained principles of physics and engineering that challenged everything we thought we knew. Slowly, piece by piece, we unraveled their secrets, and then we integrated them into our existing fleet." She paused, letting her words sink in. "These shields are not just copies of the original designs. They are improvements. Human ingenuity has taken ancient technology and made it stronger, more efficient. What you see today is the result of collaboration between humans, between scientists, and even between civilizations separated by time." The audience listened intently, many leaning forward in their seats. Questions buzzed in the air, though no one dared interrupt. Emily continued, her voice firm but gentle. We didn't do this alone. We learned from those who came before us. And now, we offer what we have learned to you. Her final statement sparked murmurs throughout the room. Some delegates looked intrigued, nodding slowly as they processed her words. Others frowned, clearly uneasy about the implications. One particularly vocal Kralgon stood up abruptly, his massive frame towering over the rest of the crowd. You say you wish to share, he growled, his deep voice carrying across the hall. But how do we know this isn't a trick? How do we know you won't use this power against us? The tension in the room thickened. All eyes turned to Brooks, waiting for his response. He didn't hesitate. Stepping forward, he met the Kralgon's gaze without flinching. We are not here to threaten anyone, he said firmly. Our history proves that. Humanity has always sought peace even when faced with overwhelming odds. We ask only for recognition and respect. His answer didn't satisfy everyone, but it seemed to ease some of the immediate hostility. The Kralgon sat back down, though his expression remained suspicious. Clara Hayes, watching the exchange from aboard the Solstice, felt a surge of pride. She glanced at Alan Grant, who stood nearby, arms crossed over his chest. Do you think they believe us? She asked quietly. Alan shrugged. Doesn't matter if they believe us right away, he replied. What matters is that they're listening. Back in the assembly hall, the discussion shifted to practical matters. Several delegates wanted to know more about the capabilities of the shields. Could they withstand sustained fire from multiple attackers? Were they limited to certain types of energy weapons? Emily answered each question patiently, providing detailed explanations backed by data. As she spoke, animated diagrams appeared on the screen, illustrating how the shields worked and why they were so effective. Meanwhile, outside the station, Commander Alan Grant prepared the next phase of the demonstration. At Brooks's signal, the Solstice and several other ships moved into formation, creating a defensive perimeter around Nexus Prime. Their movements were precise, coordinated perfectly despite the age of the vessels. To the untrained eye, it might have seemed like a routine maneuver, but those familiar with space combat recognized the skill involved. Ready? Alan asked Clara, his tone casual but his eyes sharp with focus. As ready as I'll ever be, she replied, gripping the controls tightly. Her hands trembled slightly, though whether from excitement or nerves she couldn't tell. Alan gave the order, and the fleet activated its secondary systems. This time, instead of shields, beams of light shot out from the ships, forming intricate patterns in the darkness of space. The lights danced and shifted, creating shapes that resembled constellations. It was a breathtaking display, one that left the audience speechless. What is this? Someone murmured, breaking the silence. It's a message, Emily explained, her voice soft but filled with meaning. A reminder that even the smallest lights can shine brightly in the vastness of space. Like stars, we may seem insignificant individually, but together, we create something beautiful. The symbolism wasn't lost on the delegates. Many nodded approvingly, their earlier skepticism giving way to admiration. Even the Kralgon, who had been so quick to accuse humanity of ulterior motives, seemed momentarily moved. As the demonstration concluded, Ambassador Brooks returned to the stage. Today, he said, his voice carrying a note of quiet triumph, we have shown you what humanity is capable of, but this is only the beginning. If we work together, imagine what else we can achieve. The applause that followed was hesitant at first, but it grew louder as more delegates joined in. For the first time in history, humanity had earned the respect of the galaxy. And yet Alan knew this was just the first step. Respect was one thing. Trust was another. Later, as the Solstice drifted silently through space, Clara approached Alan on the bridge. Do you think they'll trust us? She asked again, her earlier question lingering in her mind. Alan smiled faintly, gazing out at the stars. Trust takes time, he said. But today we proved we're worth noticing. That's a start. Clara nodded, feeling a flicker of hope. Whatever challenges lay ahead, She knew they would face them together, as humans always had. The applause in the Grand Assembly Hall of Nexus Prime slowly faded, but the atmosphere remained charged with energy. Delegates from across the galaxy exchanged looks, some nodding thoughtfully while others whispered among themselves. Humanity's demonstration had been impressive, perhaps even groundbreaking, but doubt still lingered. The shields were undeniable proof of advanced technology, and the symbolic light display had touched a chord. Yet many questioned whether this newfound capability was as formidable as it appeared. A Zorathian commander named Varnock stood up, his armored frame towering over the other delegates. His species was known for its military prowess, and his presence commanded attention. "Impressive visuals," he said, his voice deep and gravelly. "But shields alone do not win battles. Strategy, firepower, and resilience are what matter in combat. Prove to us that your fleet can withstand real challenges." His challenge hung in the air, daring humanity to rise to the occasion. Ambassador Samuel Brooks didn't flinch. Instead, he smiled faintly as if he had been expecting this moment. "Very well," he replied calmly. "We accept your test. Let us demonstrate not only our technology but also our ingenuity." Commander Alan Grant listened intently from aboard the Solstice. He had anticipated such a request and was ready. Turning to Lieutenant Clara Hayes, he gave her a confident nod. "Time to show them what we're made of," he said. Clara nodded back, determination replacing the earlier nerves on her face. Back in the assembly hall, Brooks outlined the terms of the simulation. It would be a mock battle, a controlled yet realistic scenario designed to test the capabilities of Earth's fleet. The Zorathians would provide simulated enemy forces, using data from their own military strategies to create a challenging opponent. The goal was simple: survive and neutralize the threat. If humanity succeeded, it would prove their worth beyond any doubt. As the delegates filed out of the hall to observe the simulation from a secure viewing platform, Alan and his crew prepared for the challenge ahead. The Solstice and several other ships moved into position outside Nexus Prime, forming a loose formation. Their rusted hulls and patched exteriors looked almost comical compared to the sleek warships of the Zorathians. But beneath the surface, the energy shields hummed with power, ready to defend against whatever came their way. Clara sat at her station, monitoring the ship's systems. Her fingers hovered over the controls, anticipation making her heart race. "Do you think we can handle this?" she asked Alan quietly. "We've trained for this," Alan replied, his tone steady. "Remember, it's not just about the shields. It's about how we use them, and each other." The simulation began without warning. A wave of virtual attackers materialized in the distance, their forms flickering with holographic clarity. They moved with precision, their formations tight and disciplined. To anyone watching, it was clear that these simulated enemies were modeled after the Zorathian Navy, one of the most feared fighting forces in the galaxy. At first, the human fleet seemed overwhelmed. The attackers swarmed like insects, firing relentless barrages of energy weapons. Explosions lit up the void of space as beams collided with the shimmering shields. For a moment, it looked as though the shields might fail under the onslaught. Gasps echoed through the viewing platform as delegates leaned forward, watching intently. But then something unexpected happened. The human ships didn't stay in a rigid formation. Instead, they scattered, breaking apart in seemingly chaotic patterns. At first glance, it appeared disorganized, even reckless, but there was method to the madness. Each ship moved independently, dodging attacks and creating opportunities for countermeasures. The Solstice, for example, spun sharply to avoid a direct hit, its engines roaring as it executed a daring maneuver. Meanwhile, another ship lured a group of attackers into a trap, drawing them closer before unleashing a concentrated burst of defensive fire. "What are they doing?" a delegate muttered, confusion evident in his voice. "This isn't standard military protocol." "It's human ingenuity," Dr. Emily Ross explained from her position on the viewing platform. She had joined the observers to provide commentary during the simulation. "Their strategy relies on unpredictability. While most fleets depend on strength and numbers, humans focus on adaptability and teamwork. The second wave of attackers arrived, larger and more aggressive than the first. This time, the human ships worked together in pairs, combining their shields to create overlapping barriers. When one ship took heavy fire, another moved in to reinforce it, creating a mobile network of protection. The tactic baffled the simulated enemies who struggled to adjust to the constantly shifting defenses. Alan watched the battle unfold from the bridge of the solstice, issuing commands with calm authority. Clara, reroute auxiliary power to the port shield, he instructed. We need to hold this position long enough for the others to regroup. On it, Clara replied, her hands flying across the console. She adjusted the energy flow, stabilizing the shield just as another barrage struck. Sparks flew inside the ship as minor systems overloaded, but the core remained intact. The crew cheered quietly, knowing they had weathered the worst of it. As the simulation progressed, the human fleet demonstrated not only resilience but also creativity. In one instance, a smaller scout ship feigned retreat, luring a squadron of attackers into a narrow corridor. Once the enemy ships were clustered together, the Solstice unleashed a massive pulse of electromagnetic energy, disabling their propulsion systems. The move was risky. It left the Solstice exposed for a brief moment, but it paid off spectacularly. General Varnock, observing the battle from the viewing platform, frowned deeply. He hadn't expected the humans to employ such unconventional tactics. Their maneuvers were unorthodox, unpredictable, and highly effective. Even his own simulations struggled to adapt to their fluid strategies. Finally, the last wave of attackers approached. By now the human fleet was battered but far from defeated. Shields flickered weakly in places and several ships showed signs of damage, but the crews refused to give up. With a final coordinated effort, the fleet launched a decisive counterattack. Using decoys and misdirection, they isolated key targets and eliminated them one by one. Within minutes, the remaining attackers were neutralized. When the simulation ended, silence fell over the viewing platform. The delegates stared at the holographic display, which showed the results of the battle. 0 casualties on the human side. Over 80% of the simulated enemy forces destroyed. The implications were staggering. Well, General Varnock said after a long pause, his tone grudgingly respectful, your tactics, they are unlike anything I have ever seen. Ambassador Brooks stepped forward, his expression calm but triumphant. Humanity has always relied on resourcefulness and teamwork to overcome adversity, he said. Today, we combine those qualities with advanced technology. Together, they make us a force to be reckoned with. The applause that followed was louder and more enthusiastic than before. Many delegates rose to their feet, clapping in genuine admiration. For the first time, humanity wasn't just being acknowledged, it was being respected. Later, aboard the Solstice, Alan and Clara reflected on the day's events. The ship drifted silently through space, its crew exhausted but proud. Clara leaned back in her chair, letting out a long breath. I can't believe we actually did it, she said, her voice tinged with disbelief. We did more than survive, Alan replied, smiling. We proved that humanity belongs here. That's something no one can take away from us. Clara nodded, feeling a sense of pride she hadn't experienced in years. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew they would face them head on, as humans always had. And for the first time, she felt truly hopeful about humanity's place in the galaxy. The aftermath of the simulation left a profound impact on everyone involved. Delegates from across the galaxy returned to their quarters aboard Nexus Prime, their minds racing with thoughts about what they had just witnessed. Humanity's performance was undeniable. It had shattered preconceived notions and proven that Earth's fleet was far more capable than anyone had imagined. Yet respect and trust were two different things. While some delegates openly praised humanity's ingenuity, others remained cautious, questioning whether this newfound power would upset the delicate balance of the galaxy. Ambassador Samuel Brooks understood the weight of the moment. He knew that earning respect was only the first step. To truly secure humanity's place among the stars, he needed to address lingering doubts and fears. As the summit resumed later that day, Brooks took the stage once again. This time, however, his tone was softer, more reflective. "Today," he began, "we have shown you not only our strength but also our values. Humanity has always been a species defined by its ability to adapt, to learn, and to grow. We do not seek dominance or conquest. What we offer is partnership." His words resonated deeply with many in the audience, especially representatives from smaller, less powerful species. For years, these civilizations had lived in the shadow of the galaxy's dominant powers, often feeling overlooked or exploited. They saw in humanity a kindred spirit, a species that had risen from humility to earn its place at the table. A delegate from the aquatic race known as the Valons raised a webbed hand, her voice melodic yet firm. "Your demonstration was impressive," she said, "but how can we be sure you will use this power responsibly?" Brooks nodded, acknowledging the concern. "We cannot erase centuries of mistrust overnight," he admitted. "But I assure you, humanity's rise is rooted in survival, not aggression. Our history is one of overcoming adversity, not through force, but through cooperation. We wish to share what we have learned, not to rule, but to protect." To emphasize his point, Brooks invited Dr. Emily Ross to join him on stage. Her presence brought a sense of authenticity to the discussion, as she represented the scientific community that had made humanity's achievements possible. Emily spoke passionately about the potential for collaboration. "The technology we've demonstrated today is not ours alone," she explained. "It comes from an ancient civilization that predates all of us. By studying their knowledge, we have taken the first steps toward understanding a greater truth, that we are all connected across time and space." Her words struck a chord with many delegates, particularly those who valued exploration and discovery over conflict. A representative from the insectoid Trelkins leaned forward, his antennae twitching in interest. "If your intentions are genuine," he said, "then perhaps we should consider joint missions. Together we could uncover more artifacts from this lost civilization." The idea sparked excitement among the audience. For decades, the galaxy had been divided by rivalries and territorial disputes. The prospect of working together toward a common goal felt almost revolutionary. Brooks seized the opportunity, proposing the formation of a coalition dedicated to exploring uncharted regions of space. "Imagine what we could achieve if we pooled our resources and expertise," he said. "Not just for ourselves, but for the benefit of all species." While many delegates applauded the proposal, skepticism still lingered. Some feared that humanity's sudden rise might destabilize the existing power structure. Others accused Earth of hoarding ancient technology for selfish gain. These accusations weighed heavily on Clara Hayes, who listened intently from aboard the Solstice. She turned to Alan Grant, her brow furrowed with worry. "Do you think they'll ever fully trust us?" she asked. Alan sighed, leaning back in his chair. "Trust takes time," he replied, "especially when it comes to something as big as this. But every step forward counts. Today, we earned their attention. Tomorrow, we'll work on earning their faith." Back in the assembly hall, discussions continued late into the night. Delegates debated the merits of forming alliances with humanity, weighing the risks against the rewards. General Varnock, the Zarathian commander, remained particularly cautious. His species prided itself on military strength, and the idea of partnering with a previously underestimated race like humanity didn't sit well with him. Still, even he couldn't deny the value of the shields and the tactical brilliance displayed during the simulation. As the summit drew to a close, Brooks delivered a final speech. "This is not the end of our journey," he said. "It is only the beginning. Humanity offers its hand in friendship, knowing full well that trust must be earned. We invite you to join us in building a brighter future, one where no species is left behind." His words received a standing ovation, though not everyone joined in. Some delegates clapped politely while others simply nodded in acknowledgement. Regardless, the message was clear. Humanity had crossed a threshold, It was no longer seen as weak or irrelevant. Instead, it was viewed as a rising power with the potential to shape the galaxy's destiny. In the days that followed, the effects of the summit rippled across the stars. News of humanity's demonstration spread quickly, reaching even the most remote corners of the galaxy. On Earth, celebrations erupted in cities around the world. People gathered in streets and parks, waving flags and cheering loudly. For the first time in history, humanity felt like it truly belonged among the stars. But the elation was tempered by the knowledge that challenges lay ahead. Not everyone welcomed humanity's rise. Whispers of sabotage and espionage began to circulate, fueled by those who feared losing their influence. Back aboard the Solstice, Alan and Clara prepared for their next mission, knowing that vigilance would be key to maintaining their hard-won position. Clara stood on the bridge, gazing out at the endless expanse of space. "Do you think we'll ever stop surprising them?" she asked, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. Alan chuckled softly, shaking his head. "If there's one thing humans are good at," he said, "it's proving people wrong." With that, the Solstice set course for its next destination, carrying the hopes of a species determined to carve its own destiny among the stars. Whatever obstacles lay ahead, one thing was certain: humanity's story was just beginning. Months had passed since the intergalactic summit, and humanity's place in the galaxy had changed dramatically. No longer dismissed as weak or irrelevant, Earth found itself at the center of a new era of cooperation and exploration. Trade agreements flourished, scientific exchanges accelerated, and joint missions ventured into uncharted regions of space. The coalition proposed by Ambassador Samuel Brooks had taken shape, with several species joining forces to uncover more artifacts from the ancient civilization that had inspired humanity's technological leap. Yet despite these successes, challenges remained. Not all factions welcomed humanity's rise. Some feared that Earth's newfound power would upset the fragile balance of power in the galaxy. Others accused humanity of hoarding knowledge for its own benefit, even though Dr. Emily Ross and her team had openly shared their findings with anyone willing to collaborate. Whispers of sabotage spread among the stars, fueled by those who resented humanity's rapid ascent. Commander Alan Grant knew better than anyone how precarious the situation was. Aboard the Solstice, he and his crew prepared for their latest mission, escorting a delegation of scientists to a remote sector of space where traces of another ancient artifact had been detected. The mission was risky, not only because of the unknown dangers they might face, but also because of the political tensions simmering beneath the surface. Lieutenant Clara Hayes stood on the bridge, reviewing the mission details one last time. Her eyes scanned the holographic map projected before her, highlighting the route they would take. "Do you think we're ready for this?" she asked Alan, her voice tinged with uncertainty. Alan glanced at her, his expression calm but serious. "We've faced worse," he replied. "This isn't just about protecting the scientists. It's about showing the galaxy that we can handle responsibility." Clara nodded, though her mind raced with doubts. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Over the past few weeks, there had been strange reports of ships disappearing near the designated area. Some claimed it was pirates. Others suggested it might be rogue factions opposed to the coalition. Whatever the truth, Clara knew they needed to stay alert. As the Solstice approached the rendezvous point, tension filled the air. The delegation included scientists from multiple species, each bringing their own expertise to the mission. Among them was Dr. Lyra Voss, a Velan biologist whose work on ancient ecosystems had earned her widespread acclaim. She floated gracefully through the ship's corridors, her webbed hands clutching a data tablet. "If the rumors are true," she said to Clara during a brief conversation, "this artifact could hold answers to questions we haven't even thought to ask." Clara smiled faintly, grateful for the optimism. "Let's hope so," she replied. "But I'd feel better if we didn't have to worry about complications." Her words proved prophetic. As the fleet entered the target sector, alarms blared throughout the Solstice. Sensors detected multiple ships approaching, unmarked and moving with purpose. "Pirates?" Clara asked, her fingers flying over the controls to activate the shields. "Could be," Alan muttered, his jaw tightening. "Or someone who doesn't want us finding that artifact." The unidentified ships opened fire without warning, their weapons striking the energy shields with surprising force. The Solstice shuddered under the impact, and sparks flew from overloaded systems. Clara gritted her teeth, adjusting the shield frequencies to compensate for the barrage. "They're targeting our engines," she called out. Alan barked orders to the crew, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Divert auxiliary power to the rear shields. We need to keep moving." The battle intensified as more ships joined the fray. It quickly became clear that this wasn't a random attack, it was coordinated, calculated. Whoever was behind it knew exactly what they were doing. Clara's heart raced as she monitored the enemy movements. "They're trying to box us in," she said, her voice tight with urgency. Alan nodded grimly. "Then we'll have to improvise." Drawing on the lessons learned during the summit simulation, the human fleet executed a series of unpredictable maneuvers. The Solstice spun sharply to evade a direct hit, while another ship lured attackers into a trap. Using decoys and misdirection, they created openings to counterattack. Each move was risky, but the crew trusted Alan's leadership and their training. Dr. Emily Ross, who had accompanied the delegation, watched the battle unfold with a mixture of awe and concern. "You humans never cease to amaze me," she said to Clara during a brief lull. "Even when everything seems stacked against you, you find a way to adapt." Clara managed a small smile. "Adaptation is kind of our thing," she replied. The turning point came when the Solstice unleashed a concentrated pulse of electromagnetic energy, disabling several enemy ships at once. The maneuver left the ship vulnerable for a moment, but the rest of the fleet moved in to cover it. Within minutes, the attackers began retreating, their numbers dwindling as they realized they were outmatched. When the battle ended, silence fell over the bridge. The crew let out a collective breath, their relief palpable. Clara slumped back in her chair, her hands trembling slightly. "That was too close," she murmured. Alan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We made it," he said, "and we protected the delegation. That's what matters." The scientists, shaken but unharmed, gathered in the briefing room to discuss next steps. Dr. Lyra Voss spoke first, her melodic voice carrying a note of determination. "We cannot let fear stop us," she said. "Whatever lies ahead, we must push forward. The secrets of the ancients could change everything, for all of us." Her words resonated deeply with everyone present. Despite the dangers, the mission continued. Hours later, the fleet arrived at the site of the artifact, a massive structure partially buried beneath layers of cosmic dust. Its surface shimmered faintly, hinting at the advanced technology within. The scientists worked tirelessly to analyze it, their excitement growing with each discovery. Back aboard the Solstice, Alan and Clara reflected on the day's events. They had faced adversity, fought hard, and emerged victorious. But they knew this was only one step in a much larger journey. Humanity's rise had brought opportunities but also responsibilities, and as long as there were those who sought to undermine their progress, vigilance would be essential. Clara gazed out at the stars, her thoughts drifting to the future. "Do you think we'll ever reach a point where we don't have to fight for respect?" she asked softly. Alan chuckled, shaking his head. "Maybe someday," he replied. "But until then, we'll keep proving ourselves, one challenge at a time." With that, the Solstice set course for home, carrying not just the artifact but also the promise of a brighter future. Whatever obstacles lay ahead, humanity was ready to face them, with resilience, ingenuity, and an unwavering belief in the power of unity. The journey back to Earth was long, but it gave the crew of the Solstice time to reflect on everything that had happened. The discovery of the ancient artifact had been a monumental achievement, one that could shape the future of not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. Yet as the ship drifted through the vast expanse of space, Commander Alan Grant couldn't shake the feeling that their work was far from over. The battle they had fought to protect the delegation was proof that not everyone welcomed humanity's rise. For every ally they gained, there seemed to be an enemy waiting in the shadows. Lieutenant Clara Hayes shared his unease. She spent hours on the bridge staring out at the stars as if searching for answers in their endless glow. "Do you think we'll ever stop being tested?" she asked Alan one evening, her voice quiet but heavy with thought. Alan leaned against the railing beside her, his gaze fixed on the horizon of space. "Probably not," he admitted. "But that's what makes us who we are. Every challenge is another chance to prove ourselves, to show the galaxy that we're here to stay." Clara nodded slowly, though her expression remained troubled. "It's just, sometimes I wonder if we're ready for all this. We've come so far, so fast. What if we make a mistake? What if we lose everything we've worked for?" Alan turned to look at her, his eyes softening. "We won't," he said firmly. "Not because we're perfect, but because we learn. That's what humans do best. When we fall, we get back up, and when we don't know something, we figure it out." His words brought a small measure of comfort, but Clara knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Back on Earth, the artifact was already causing waves. Scientists from around the world and beyond were eager to study it, hoping to unlock its secrets. Meanwhile, political tensions simmered as factions debated how the knowledge should be shared. Some argued for open collaboration, while others pushed for stricter controls, fearing the consequences of misuse. Ambassador Samuel Brooks found himself at the center of these discussions. He stood before the United Earth Council, addressing leaders from every corner of the planet. "This artifact represents more than just technology," he said, his voice steady and resolute. "It represents hope, a chance to build a better future for all species. But with that hope comes responsibility. If we act selfishly or recklessly, we risk losing everything we've gained." His words resonated deeply with many, but opposition remained strong. Powerful corporations lobbied for exclusive access, claiming they could develop the technology faster than government-led initiatives. Activists countered, warning of the dangers of placing such power in the hands of a few. The debate raged on, threatening to divide humanity, just as it had begun to unite with the rest of the galaxy. In the midst of the chaos, Dr. Emily Ross worked tirelessly to ensure the artifact's secrets were handled responsibly. Her team collaborated with scientists from across the galaxy, sharing data and insights in real time. Despite the challenges, progress was made. The artifact revealed fragments of knowledge about the ancient civilization that had created it. Knowledge that hinted at incredible advancements in energy manipulation, medicine, and even interstellar travel. One breakthrough came when the team discovered a way to stabilize the artifact's core, allowing them to safely extract usable energy. This development sparked excitement, but also renewed fears of exploitation. General Varnock, the Zarathian commander, voiced his concerns during a meeting of the coalition. "Such power must be controlled," he insisted. "If it falls into the wrong hands, it could destabilize the galaxy." Brooks agreed, emphasizing the need for transparency and cooperation. "Power is only dangerous when wielded without accountability," he said. "Together, we can ensure this technology benefits everyone, not just a select few." Despite the challenges, trust began to grow between humanity and its allies. Joint missions became more common, with crews from different species working side by side. The solstice itself became a symbol of this newfound unity, its patched hull and outdated design serving as a reminder of humanity's humble beginnings. Even General Varnock, who had once dismissed Earth as insignificant, found himself impressed by the resilience and ingenuity of its people. As months turned into years, humanity's influence in the galaxy continued to expand. Trade routes flourished, cultural exchanges deepened, and scientific breakthroughs accelerated. The coalition proposed by Brooks evolved into a formal alliance, dedicated to peace, exploration, and mutual prosperity. Humanity played a key role in shaping its foundations, earning respect not just for its technological achievements but for its values. yet threats still lingered on the fringes of known space. Rogue factions, embittered by humanity's rise, launched sporadic attacks on coalition ships. These skirmishes were minor compared to the battles of the past, but they served as a reminder that not everyone embraced change willingly. Alan and Clara remained vigilant, leading missions to protect the Alliance and defend its ideals. One evening, as the solstice orbited a distant star, Clara joined Alan on the bridge. The ship was quiet, its systems humming softly in the background. She leaned against the railing, gazing out at the glowing light of the star. "Do you ever think about what's next?" she asked. Alan smiled faintly, following her gaze. "Every day," he replied. "There's always something new to discover, some new challenge to face. That's what makes this journey worth it." Clara nodded, a sense of peace settling over her. For the first time in a long while, she felt confident in humanity's ability to navigate the complexities of the galaxy. They weren't perfect, they never would be, but they were learning. And in that learning, they were growing stronger. Back on Earth, children looked up at the night sky with wonder, dreaming of the adventures that awaited them among the stars. Humanity's story was no longer one of struggle and survival. It was a tale of courage, innovation, and unity. It was a story that inspired not just humans, but countless other species across the galaxy. And as the solstice vanished into the depths of space, carrying the hopes of a species determined to carve its own destiny, one truth became clear. Humanity's journey was just beginning. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, with resilience, ingenuity, and an unwavering belief in the power of hope.